Right, technicality is dealt with. I'm Jan Deacon. I'm from the United Sustainable Energy Agency. We're a not-for-profit organisation dedicated to tackling climate change and fuel poverty. Me and my team are based in Witney, so not too far away down the road, and our head office is in Milton Keynes. Our history, really, is predominantly as a contractor from the domestic sector for the Energy Saving Trust. So we have a long record of giving advice, impartial advice to householders, and it's the impartiality factor that is the main reason I've been asked to come along today. I was going to say the first thing you should be thinking of with regard to photovoltaics, I'm going to go for PV because I'm going to trip up on that during the night, is about the accreditation. But I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to go back to the insulation scheme. As a very first step, everyone should be thinking about making their home more energy efficiency, and that's both in the way you actually use it and in the way it's insulated and in the appliances that you've got. One of the things we do at the United Sustainable Energy Agency is to operate this scheme, and many like it around the area. So if you haven't yet...
I have no authority here. Could you find someone? We've got two conversations going on. You're already downstairs. Yes.
I'll speak up a bit as well. So. Yeah, so if you haven't yet taken advantage of insulating your home, the £49 deal is hopefully around yet, for a while yet. We haven't run out of funds, so go onto the website and get yourself referred and get yourself insulated. So, PV. The first thing you need to take into consideration is the quality of your installer and the product that's going in. There is only one fair way of ensuring that you've got that, and that is to have an installer that has this certification. This is the national certification. If your installer hasn't got it, then you can't claim the feed-in tariff. Simple as that. Back to a little bit of basics on how solar PV works. You have a panel on your roof. Not dissimilar to that. The panel has silicon in it, which naturally reacts with sunlight and produces electricity. There we go, that's as technical as I get. The electricity, sorry, I thought that was you. Electricity comes into your household as direct current and needs to be converted to alternating current, which is what our domestic systems use. Goes through your conventional fuse box that you'll all be familiar with, and the amount that you generate will be recorded by, this is slightly erroneous because it's not an export meter, it's actually a generation meter that will record that. You'll also need to import electricity from the grid in the same way as you do now. And whether you're importing it from the grid or whether you're generating it, it can all be used within your home. Simple concept. The diagram down there to your bottom right is a simple diagrammatic of the fact that your roof really needs to be facing, ideally, south and at a 30-degree pitch. And as soon as you start to, the further you vary from that ideal, the less generation potential that you're going to have. This is an actual case study of a property in Bedfordshire that was installed, 12 panels up there, and it has a capacity of producing 2.2 kilowatts at peak, and it's a polycrystalline system, which, for those not technically aware, is basically the basic model of PV nowadays. And this is estimated to be typically capable of generating 1,850 kilowatt hours per year. And the cost of this system was just under £9,000. The feed-in tariffs, as has already been alluded to, the government has come under some criticism as to the level and how they're going to be paid for. But as it stands at the moment, you can use the electricity that you generate, which means that you import less from the grid. And you'll also be paid for electricity that you export, and you're paid an export tariff for that. But you also, of course, need to continue importing electricity from the grid for any additional power that you need. It's very unlikely, extremely unlikely, that you'll be able to put enough PV on your roof to generate all of your needs, because if you think about it, unless you're home all day using the electricity as it's generated, the chances are that you're not going to use it while you're there. So you'll always have a high degree that will be exported. The levels that are being paid for that tariff, that feed-in tariff, excuse the lots of numbers up there. Ignore the first column, year one, because that's now gone. We're in year two, and the most common system that we're likely to see for you all here is a retrofit system, which is with less than 4 kilowatt capacity. So the one that's highlighted, 43.3 pence, is the rate that you're likely to get if you install by the end of this financial year. You'll see that from year three, from next financial year, it's already predicted, set to go down quite considerably. And there is a review sort of already underway as to what the future tariffs will be. And it's widely expected that it will actually be worse than that is currently set at 39.6, but nobody knows for sure because the review hasn't taken place yet. The export tariff that will be paid is typically 3.1 excuse me, pence per kilowatt hour. Back to the case study. No, I haven't gone backwards. It's just to show you the figures for this particular case study. So it's generation 1,850 kilowatts, paid at 43.3 pence, comes to £801.05. It's then assumed that you're going to export 50% of what you generate, and you're going to use the other 50% within your home. So you're paid the 3.1 pence, keeping up with the maths, for what you're exporting. So £28.68 for that. So your total income is £829.73. On top of that, you've got the electricity you're not importing because you're generating it yourself. And on the basis that it's 50%, that's worth £120.25 at a typical rate of 13p, but 13.1 pence I think we allowed for that. So taking all that into consideration, having paid £9,000 for this system, your payback period for this example is 9.5 years. Now, as I was pointing out a little earlier, that's all done on a standard assessment and standard predictions. And here in the southeast, we actually get a bit more daylight than is standard. So hopefully that's a pessimistic prediction. Some key points on the feed-in tariffs. Once it's installed, the feed-in tariff is guaranteed for the lifetime of the system, the 25 years of the system. That's built in. And it's going to be adjusted in line with the retail price index as that goes forward. I've already mentioned the comprehensive review. And the other point that I will emphasise is the government doesn't act retrospectively. So if you've already put a system in, you won't qualify, and they won't claw things back. So they never change what's already been put in. They've made that promise. And as we've already said, new tariffs will apply from the 1st of April 2012. I mentioned Cocoon Your Home from a point of view of insulation. We've recently launched a solar comparison service on Cocoon Your Home. And it's got a solar suitability checker. I heard a couple here deliberating about whether you'd got any suitable roof space, you can actually go onto our website and actually, I'll show you in a minute, but actually draw it out yourself, and it will tell you by the orientation, etc., whether you've actually got any sufficient generating capacity on your individual roof. All the companies we work for, and I've lost count, I think we're at 7 at this moment, that have gone through a tendering process. So you get a choice of installers going this way. And we started with solar, so the 2 solar technologies, PV and solar thermal, are available through this system. And there's more technologies we'll be following soon. It's just a snapshot of the website, and it doesn't come out very clear on here, but you can see this is the tool that you can use, and you put in your postcode, find your property, and basically draw it over what you think is the suitable roof space, and you can move it around, and it'll tell you, and it'll ask you whether it's a flat roof and all that sort of thing. And if it's looking suitable and it's of interest, you can take yourself forward to be referred for a choice of installers, and the website will show you this this calculation of the likely potential of your roof to actually generate electricity, and the costs and the payback accordingly. And that's me. Any questions?
Is the feed-in tariff paid by the government or by the electricity supplier? And is there a contract to ensure that that is actually going to be paid for 25 years?
It is actually paid by the energy companies. Yeah. It's not paid directly by the government. The government's putting through the legislation that has made it possible. And one of the criticisms that has been levelled at government is that we are all of us that pay utility bills are in effect paying for that feed-in tariff, so that there is a cost to all of us in achieving this. Does that answer your question?
Is it guaranteed? Is it guaranteed?
Once you're in and signed up to it, then yes, it's a legal obligation. It's the 25 years. It's in there.
That is so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true at this moment in time. I can't predict what's going to happen in the future.